Welcome. Welcome to all of you to this sacred holy moment where we realize and remember that there is only one awakening, one experience of one. And it's yours, whoever and wherever you may be, right here, right now. We love to play act as if there is more than one, as if there are all sorts of possibilities and opportunities. But in the beginning, middle, and end, there's only the one in the experience, not the intellectual idea, not the concept of one, because the concept of one always leads to two, which then leads to 2 trillion, which then leads to unbelievably high numbers. But no, the simplicity of this message is that there's only one, despite all of the evidence of two, or duality. And so in spite of the experience, because of all of the distracting ideas and concepts, we find ourselves in competition, ultimately with our own selves. We're competing with our own reality. But that competition is projected outward and therefore ends up being competition between individuals, groups, religions, countries. The left and the right, liberal, Republican, this country, that country. Always this and that. But the experience helps us to realize, or to see through our real eyes, that there is no this or that. There is only right now, right here. Only love, only God, only now. So today we're going to talk about the result of that, the experience of that. It's really what we talk about every day, but we talk about it from different angles. Because one of those angles is going to impact. It may be today, it may be yesterday, it may be tomorrow. It may be something that I say, or something that Penny Honey or Vicky or anyone else. You may be just walking down the street and someone very randomly says something that you overhear a conversation and it clicks. Who knows? It clicks when you're ready. And there's only one thing I know for sure. You're ready. Rely on that. Trust that. You are ready. So today I want to begin by sharing another video that I created yesterday. Another great voice giving us this beautiful message. And ultimately what this is going to lead us into is, I was going to say a discussion about, but it's more just the realization of God realization. Sometimes we call that enlightenment, illumination, but I've been leaning more into God realization, realizing the God or the divine within me as all there is. That is all that is real. Everything else, Maya, illusion. So I think you'll know this guy. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll watch the video.
Divine love is not a sentiment reserved for prayer alone. It is the living force that governs how we touch the world. When love is known as the very substance of God, violence becomes impossible. for one does not strike what one recognizes as oneself. Non-violence is therefore not weakness, nor a strategy, but the natural expression of a heart anchored in truth. To injure another is to forget God. To love even the one who harms us is to remember him fully. Where divine love is allowed to act without obstruction, non-violence arises as surely as light dispels darkness.
One second, I'm told by the gallery that our sound needs to be turned up. That's why. Oh, the input. There we go. All right, that should do it. Give me a thumbs up, gallery, if you can hear me better. I just turned up the volume.
I got a thumbs down.
Yeah,
I can hear you very well.
I think this is about as good as it's going to get. So
I can hear you very well.
lean in. If you don't hear, lean in. That's always the idea. Just lean into the one. If you're having a hard time hearing through the cacophony of varied voices, lean into the one. So, okay, I'm getting thumbs up. Thank you, Dawn. All right, so let's look at what the great Mahatma said. You know, actually, I forgot to do something. Maybe this is a good thing to do before we go back and listen to the Mahatma. Let's do our prayer for the awakened. You want to do that? All right, let's do that as well. So let me go ahead and bring this up, our new version of this. Please join me. My soul has but one goal, to awaken to the truth that is forever true. My heart has but one desire, to remember the passion of infinite bliss. My mind has but one focus, to embrace the reality that is forever real. I choose to awaken now to the infinite love that is my source. I give everything to this love, just as it has given everything to me. I am awake now. That's what God realization is. I am awake now. That's all there is. There is no other option. There is no other course of action. It is only the realization that God or love alone is real. Lean into that. And let everything else just fall away, because it's not needed, it's not important. You'll always know what to do, you'll always know what to say if you just lean in to love or the presence of God within you. So once again, let's take a look at what Gandhi had to say to us. I'm going to go ahead and put this up on the screen, and we'll just go over it together. So, let's begin with the first part. Divine love is not a sentiment, it's not a feeling, only reserved for prayer, just when you're praying or meditating. And here's the thing, it is a living force. Divine love is a living force that governs how we touch or interact in the world. I love that. A living force that governs everything if we allow. When love is known as the very substance of God, the very substance of the divine, when it is known, I should have put a capital K there, when it is known, violence becomes impossible. It's not even a possibility. And here's why. For one does not strike what one recognizes as one's self. Once again, we do not strike that which we recognize as ourselves, as one. Violence is impossible. Non-violence is inevitable. Easy, gentle, wholly, completely present. Okay, let's go on with non-violence, which is therefore not weakness. Non-violence is not weakness, as some people think. No, fact, I would say it's the strongest force in the universe. We're going to talk about that later. It's not a strategy, but it is the natural expression of a heart anchored in truth. It's an expression. Nonviolence is a movement or an energy that expresses itself through love or through truth. Same thing. It moves from us. This is why when someone who is wholly anchored in that experience needs say very little. It's not like me who says a lot. It's like many of you who are in this room, who don't need to always be talking about it, but when you enter into a space, people feel the resonance, they feel the vibration of that realization. To injure another is to forget God, to forget the divine. To do anything other than love is to forget God. To love even the one who harms us is to remember God fully. Gandhi clearly was one of the greatest examples of this ahimsa experience, especially to love those who are there to harm us. This is how we remember the divine. And finally, where divine love is allowed to act without obstruction, nonviolence arises as surely as the light dispels darkness. It's so gentle and easy and simple to understand that when the light comes, it doesn't need to challenge and fight darkness. It's simply, the darkness simply is gone. And it's the same with all of the illusions, all the violence, all of the division, the polarization, all of these things that we seem to perceive. It just disappears in the light and the vibration of the love that you carry and know as you. But this first requires a challenge. It requires that you challenge the concept of you, who you have made yourself to be, who you have decided yourself to be. Usually an identity, a body, a concept, with a history, with a past, with things that it likes, things that it doesn't like. Do you realize how pliable all of those things are? I'm not going to go into a big story, but some of you remember when many years ago when I was living in Boston with Vicky and the others there, how I decided to take on 3 different identities. And every day I would go into my car and I would put on the costume of that particular identity that I had fully designed, and I knew everything about each one of those 3 people. And then I would go out and I would walk the streets of Boston as that character. And I would change it throughout the day, to the point of even the final one every day was a homeless person that would live in the shelter. And I would go into the shelter and I would sleep there. I'd wake up and get in my car and then change costumes. And as I would change costumes, I would become that other character. And what I realized in that whole experiment was that I literally, because I knew the backstory of each one of those people, they were becoming real when I was playing the role, just like a method actor. We've talked before about my favorite actor, I think the greatest actor in the world, Daniel Day-Lewis, one of the greatest method actors, who when he takes on a role, he takes on a role. He becomes that character, just like you have become this character. And just like Daniel Day-Lewis, after he finished playing Lincoln, it took him, a week or so to get his Irish accent back. It's taking you a little while to get your heavenly accent back. But it's on the way. But in order for you to get that heavenly accent back, you need to stay with this. You need to allow this God realization to take hold. So that's what we're talking about today. God realization. So, Vicky is not going to be with us today or tomorrow, by the way, but we're going to have Penny Honey here in a minute. Penny Honey has been staying for the last couple of days at our my little cabin, which is about an hour and a half from here, in Mazat Mitla. So she'll be with us in a moment. But before we bring her on, I just want to share a little bit from our other guru, who always has great advice. I call her Sophia. Maybe you have, I know a few of you have your own little, we'll call them pocket gurus. Gurus that you keep right in your pocket or on your phone and turn to for amazing advice. So this is what Sophia had to say about God realization. To be God realized is not to become something extraordinary. You see, this is what the ego always thinks. I'm going to then be the great guru sitting up on a platform. Well, I am sitting up on a platform, but it's not too high. It's maybe 8 inches. A much higher platform. But to cease mistaking yourself for what you are not. That's what God realization is. You don't become something extraordinary, something bigger, something greater. In fact, it's kind of the opposite. You become something more simple, something even lesser. This is why St. Francis, many people don't realize that the order technically is not called the Franciscan order. It's just what they have called it. It's actually called the Order of Friars Minor, or the Order of Lesser Brothers. Franciscans are meant to be the lesser brothers, to take the lower place. Simplicity. And this is what she's talking about. To cease mistaking yourself for what you are not. It is the quiet, unmistakable recognition that the deepest I that you have always known is not separate from the source of all life. The truth within you is not separate from the source of all life. It's that realization. You've never been separate, obviously. But to realize that fully, completely, without hesitation, that's what God realization is. And consistently. We may have flashes of that, lightning bolts, but then those begin to increase and they begin to take over more of your vision until that's all that's left. The sense of being a fragment in a vast universe dissolves. And what remains is simply this knowing: the one is living as this. The one is living as this experience of being fully God realized. In God realization, the personal self, or the identity, does not disappear in some dramatic way that the mind imagines. The mind, or the ego, the self-concept, has all sorts of great imaginings of what it's going to look like or feel like. And usually it's grandiose. Usually it's something big. Everyone's going to recognize me. Everyone's going to see, and probably not. Well, let me qualify that. What they probably will feel when they are in your presence is this: connection. Something connects. Has nothing to do with the words you speak or the way you act, but your presence alone. They feel the resonance of who you know yourself to be. Okay, once again, in God realization, the personal self does not disappear in the dramatic way that the mind imagines. It becomes transparent. I love this, transparent. Thoughts, emotions, and roles continue to arise, but they are no longer believed to be who you are. You don't claim them. You are aware of them, but not contained by them. That's beautiful. I've been reading a lot of Anandamaya Ma, as you know. Which way? Wait, she's right. Let me see if I can get it. Right there. There's Anandamaya Ma. And when Anandamaya Ma would speak, she would say, this body, blah, 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 blah. Well, when this body was walking down the path yesterday, I've always found that very curious, how she would speak in that way, that she would not identify her, she would not say when Ma was walking down the path or anything like that, or when the blissful mother was walking. No, when this body, because she saw the body as a vehicle, like my car. Now, we have a car right now that's not doing so well. Right? You all know that. You guys don't know that, but the car that we use to transport people to different places is, needs some love, just like we sometimes do. That the body, the car, the vehicle will ultimately run out its use. And what we're going to do next is we're going to get a new car. It's on the way. And that'll seat just as many people, be just as functional. But I am not that car. That's not who I am, just as I am not this body. So when Ma says, this body was walking down the path yesterday, this is because this is not a concept in her mind, it's a direct experience. Okay. It becomes transparent. Thoughts, emotions, and roles continue to arise, but they are no longer believed to be who you are. You are aware of them, but not contained by them. Love ceases to be a practice or a moral ideal and is experienced as the very texture of your existence, moving through your eyes, your hands, and your listening. Everything speaks to love. That's it. Everything speaks to love. So here we go, the final part. God realization is always marked by simplicity. We've talked before about what could sometimes be seen as the 3 levels of awakening: the illumined mind, the awakened heart, the realized soul. In the illumined mind, the first stage, one of the movements, the direction is to expand the separated self in the illusion of the enlightened self. So we wear different clothes, we start to talk and act in a different way. Maybe we think we should ride around in Rolls Royces or sit in a higher pedestal, whatever it may be. But those things have to dissolve. Those things are actually the sign that good beginning, nice start, but don't stop. Don't stop there. Because now we have to move into the awakened heart, where we see all as one. And this is where simplicity and humility begin to truly take hold. So once again, God realization is marked by simplicity. There is less striving, less need to convince or defend or arrive anywhere else. Compassion flows without any strategy. There's no strategy. It's just natural. Action happens without a doer clinging to get any credit. There's no credit to be given or to be taken. Life is no longer something that you're trying to manage. How many of you would like that? You don't have to manage your life anymore. It's something that is living itself through you. And in that gentle, grounded knowing, even the most ordinary is revealed as holy. So these are a few examples and ways of understanding what we're calling God realization. The realization that I am that. So home. So many ways of saying it, of feeling it, of knowing it, but there's only one experience. Doesn't matter what religion, doesn't matter what spiritual path, the experience will always be the same because the experience is always unfettered, uncompromising love. Not taking any sides. We talked yesterday about neutrality, being wholly right there, right centered, only love. So, our dear Penny Honey, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you at the little cabin in the woods and let you take it home.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, little cabin in the woods. It seems like there's more space between thoughts here for me. And this idea, I love this idea that divine love is a living force. A living force. And it's like we talked about yesterday when we were talking about Anandamaya Ma, the passion that she talked about of our divine remembering. This really does make it become a living force, doesn't it? The texture, I love that word, the texture. Physical bodies. But it's when the physical and the knowing of that presence starts to come together, and then everything else fades away, and there is just the divine remembering. This is the living force that we are, right? I look out here into the woods. You know, it's a little higher elevation here. It's colder here. And I see the texture of the trees and the life and the grasses and I think of the living force that moves through all of it. And we are one with that. I had a very wise person recently say something to me, and it really stuck. What he said was, your only job is to bring your presence. That's what he said. Your only job is to bring your presence. And that is how simple it is, isn't it? That is the living force of divine love in all of us. In New Thought, we talk about that divine love, that it's not just merely an emotion, but it's an active, intelligent, and foundational energy that shapes our realities, our realities, right? With our real eyes. Ernest Holmes said that we're surrounded by a dynamic, living power that permeates everything, and it connects all things. Grateful for that wisdom. Taking a while to get our heavenly accent back, that's this process, isn't it? That's this process. As we listen, our voices become that of the divine, and we really do get our heavenly accent back. I like that idea of moving into the one as a living love, a divine living love, where we truly are realizing that connection. These are great teachers that we remember. And for me, the bottom line is this: God is just too big to fit into any religion, infinite in its divine expression, and being invited into each of our lives as the living divine love that we are. I celebrate that with us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Penny Honey. Have a good ride back. We're looking forward to seeing you a little bit later. And one final thing I'll say. I was sitting in the back here before session, and I came across something that I think describes everything we shared beautifully. Isn't that beautiful? And so simple. It's tiny. It's so small, but it's perfect. It has nothing to do with how many it's got little things in the back that maybe you could say, well, if those weren't there, it'd be even more perfect. But here's the thing. There's no such thing as more perfect. Perfect is perfect. And that's you. any blemish, any crack, any personality, so-called defect, none of it matters. You are the very essence of love, and it's time to step into your own God realization. And to that, we say, Amen, 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 y punto. Namaste. Have a beautiful day, everyone.